I guess what I want to just talk about is the expectation of what you're going to get out of meditating through a panic attack and then what you're actually going to get. And I think you'll be pleased to find out that what you're actually going to get is better than what you're hoping to get. This isn't like the magic doesn't have instantaneous results. Don't expect to sit down for 10-minute meditation and to see these results. But there is magic. Like there is something really magical about non-action where it allows a greater force to solve your problems for you. When we are trying to fix them, something else can step in, something else that has like a much more broad and global point of view, something that can see how all the pieces tie together in a way that we can't from our narrow perspective. Meditating for panic attacks. What should you do? How long should you do it? And how can you possibly do such a thing when you're panicking? Um, so it seems counterintuitive to just sit and do nothing except for close your eyes and sit in the toxicity of your mind and listen to the racing heartbeat of your chest when you're having a panic attack. Everything about a panic attack is about doing. It is like the most intense doing energy. It's a like run for your life energy. But sometimes we, like myself, have panic attacks in situations where there's really like no other options. Like you can't run away. And like congratulations if you're watching this video. And that means that you're at that crisis point where you're having panic attacks, but there's actually no outside solution to it. There's nothing you can change in your life, that will change the panic attacks. And perhaps medication isn't working, or perhaps you don't want to use medication, and perhaps therapy hasn't worked. And so now you're just here. And likely, you've also clicked on this video because, similarly to me, one of the things about panic attacks for me was that there really wasn't anything else I even wanted to do. So inaction was kind of my only option. And there's nothing more inactive than meditation. Because you're literally doing nothing. So you're here, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to try meditating for my panic attacks. Somebody's told you to try it out, or you just know there's nothing else you could do except for sit with it. I guess what I want to just talk about is the expectation of what you're going to get out of meditating through a panic attack and then what you're actually going to get. And I think you'll be pleased to find out that what you're actually going to get is better than what you're hoping to get. What you're hoping to get is not what you're going to get. What you're hoping to get is that you're going to be able to lower your heart rate and calm your racing thoughts. If you practice a particular type of meditation like I do, where it's you close your eyes and you focus on, say, the breath, or you try to focus on the breath, or you try to focus on the physical sensations in your body, you try to be, anchor in the present. So as opposed to, say, a kind of meditation that would be like a guided meditation or a more active meditation, walking meditation, something where you're kind of doing something, listening to music, whatever. So I don't have a lot of experience about using those kinds of meditations during panic attacks. Other than when I do try that kind of meditation during a panic attack, it doesn't really do much for me. However, I have had huge successes, which is what brings me here today to YouTube, with using the like simplest forms of meditation, like anapana, focusing just on the breath, like the sensation of the air leaving your nostrils, like the actual tickling on the micro hairs on your nose of the air leaving and then coming back in. And perhaps, if you have to put your audio, your somewhere, then you try to focus on the sound of your breath. So I'm going to speak to that. When I was using those forms of meditation to meditate through panic attacks, it was coming as a crisis. So it was coming because I couldn't do anything else. Here's what I discovered about it was that when I sat for an hour, focusing only on my breath as much as I could, which of course you can't really, your mind is racing. That's one of the, aspects of a panic attack. What I found was that like, it didn't calm the racing thoughts, nor could I bring my heart rate down. The heart rate remained elevated. The racing thoughts remained elevated until my timer went off. So I always do it for an hour. So my timer would go off at an hour, and then suddenly, like, those things would calm down. And perhaps it's a psychological thing about like, you're done now. That gave me like, it's not like the panic attacks went away completely, but the heart rate would lower a little bit, and the racing thoughts would. It's like you got a break from thinking about them. There's this like timer saying like, okay, now you don't have to do this anymore. And then it would last, like there would be like a moment of, I don't want to say serenity because it's not that. My panic attacks, if they're anything like yours, were pretty continuous. It's just that there was like a little bit of a moment of reprieve, and then back to the panic attack, a couple hours later or something like that. And then I would do it again, and I would do it again, and I would do it again because there was no other option. So what I was hoping to get out of meditation, which might be what you're hoping to get out of meditation, was the ability to quell the panic attack, to lower the cortisol levels, to lower the heart rate, to improve the mental toxicity, and to halt or at least slow down the racing thoughts. That didn't happen instantaneously. It did happen with just doing it so much that the habit and doing it so frequently, then those things became a byproduct, just because those things are a natural result of a regular meditation practice. But it's not instantaneous. It took months to get there. So don't expect those results right away. But there were other results that came about right away. And this is where meditation is a little bit magic. The other results that came as a result of meditating through my panic attacks were moments where the mental looping actually had like a new thought and a more inspired thought, a thought that gave me a new exit to my situation, or an option I hadn't considered before, or a perspective that gave me like a bigger, longer term reprieve from the panic itself. And in addition to these sort of like, I call them downloads that happen during meditation occasionally, that gave me more options for my life that I didn't know were available to me in my regular state of mental activity, like my day-to-day mental activity, that only came to me as a result of the meditative state or the meditative practice. There was also this other sort of magical element, which was the non-action, the like not doing anything about my situation because I couldn't do anything about my situation, led to resolving certain things about my situation that lowered my panic attacks. So, the panic attacks are often about something. They're not always about something. If they're not actually about something, there's nothing outside of your life like creating those panic attacks, like you might need to see like a doctor about something physiological that's going on, because it might be something in the body, right, that's creating a elevated heart rate. But let's say you're just in a shitty marriage, or in my case, like a really toxic job. The interesting thing about non-action and like me being unable to take a step anywhere because everywhere around me was surrounded by fire. So it's like you step this way, you get burned. You step that way, you get burned. There was just burning everywhere. So all I could do was like stay still in one place, hence meditation. There were magical results. Like things started to resolve themselves. Like, I'd get like a magic unexpected email with an unexpected fixing of one of the problems, like or I would get a phone call, or I would just get this unexpected situation. So for example, in my case, there was nowhere for me to move when it came to my job. Like I just felt trapped. I didn't feel like there were any other options for me, and yet I didn't feel like I could go back. And then like out of the blue, somebody offered me a job for more money that was better suited for me, et cetera, et cetera. It was just really random. And of course that unfolded over a few months time, right? So this isn't like, the magic doesn't have instantaneous results. Don't expect to sit down for 10-minute meditation and to see these results. But there is magic. Like there is something really magical about non-action, where it allows a greater force to solve your problems for you. When we are trying to fix them, something else can step in, something else that has like a much more broad and global point of view, something that can see how all the pieces tie together in a way that we can't from our narrow perspective. And the results are often better than we expected. So essentially, what I'm trying to say is meditate through your panic attacks. You're not going to see instant results in terms of lowering the temperature on those panic attacks. You will see incremental results in that. But you also will see, like I can promise you this, you will see results in your life. You will see results in the manifestations of your life. And you will probably, if you do it consistently enough, if you do it seriously enough, you will also start to get these like little insights, these little bubbles of clear thoughts that will help guide you to the right path so that you can take the next step. And have you ever seen those movies, right, where somebody's sort of blinded and they're unable to move anywhere without getting into trouble, and they've got somebody in an earpiece telling them, okay, like take a right here, like somebody who's watching from some CCTV camera who can guide them. That's what it's like. These little downloads. There's just like this little inner voice that tells you like, okay, step this way and it's going to be safe over there. Like just take this one step. And it doesn't give you the full picture. It can't. It's going to overload you if it does. But you'll know. The other thing is like you will know the difference between that voice and the chatter in your mind. I don't have to tell you, oh, this is how you distinguish between the two. You will know. Just sit and listen to that chatter long enough, and you will know that voice so well that when a different sounding voice, a different sounding inner voice, an inner voice, not like actual sound, but like vibrational, like a feeling of the voice, when it presents itself, it's so obvious because you've been listening to the chatter very acutely and very attentively for so long that your other voice, your other inner voice, is very distinctive. It has a very, very different feel to it. So yeah, I hope that helps. If you are having panic attacks, I empathize. I really do. It is not fun. It's a really horrible way to live. Um, Try this method. You know, I am not a doctor, blah, blah, blah. But try it because, you know, if you're at this YouTube channel, you might be like me and you've already tried the conventional, um, all the conventional avenues already. So now you're looking for unconventional avenues. I hope this helps.